Hello, and welcome to Women Over 40 Losing Weight. I'm your host, Dr. Kisha Pickford, a nurse practitioner, hormone informed metabolic and weight loss strategist, and the founder of Ample Health and Wellness. This is the podcast where we have real, honest conversations about what it actually takes to feel better, stay consistent, and build a healthier life after 40. And today, we're going to do something a little different. Today, I'm sharing a story about a mistake, a lesson, and honestly, a reminder that sometimes growth looks a little messy.
And I'm here with you, Keisha. You know, starting something new can absolutely bring those messy, unexpected moments.
Yes, and Jay, I'm so happy that you're here. I tried something new this Friday evening or afternoon, and it didn't go my way. But I weathered through, I kept going, and I made it to the end. I wasn't happy about how it started, but I did it anyway. And I think that's a message that maybe a lot of us go through and a lot of people learn. What do you think about this for today, being my co host on this podcast?
I think it's a perfect message, Keisha. Sometimes it's those imperfect starts that teach us the most, and it's inspiring for others to hear that you did it anyway.
Yes, I did it anyway. And I can give a little bit of a background, just so everybody can be up to date on what we're discussing. I hosted my first online wellness event today. And I was excited. I had been excited for a couple of weeks now. I had planned, I had prepared, I created, registration page. I did my presentation. I practiced it a couple of times just to make sure I was on point. And I had the technology set up, or at least I thought I did. As the event began today, I realized there was an issue with how the attendees were coming or having access to the event. But the event has started, and I figured out that I did not probably link everything like I should have, so it would be an easy fix for people to just click the button and come into the room. So I ended up having a few people, maybe a lot of people that had registered that did not come to the same room I was in. And the other issue, I was in a completely different room. So I don't know where my mismatch was. I knew for sure once I realized, but the event was on in schedule, that I had not put the link in appropriately. But how did I get into a different room from everybody? I still do not know.
You know, that sounds like a stressful moment, but what matters is you didn't let it stop you. You adapted, you kept going, and I think there's a lesson in that. So, how did you move forward from there?
Well, I had a few attendees that stayed around, and I eventually entered the room as if I was an attendee, and that just kind of solved a problem for me, and I was able to see and be in the same room with everybody. And once I got into my virtual room with everyone else, I gave an apology, um, blamed it on me and my non-technical self, because I'm a healthcare worker and they just didn't teach me computer and IT, not when I was coming along in school. So I did my apology and I carried on. I saved face and I carried on. And we started from the beginning. I think I, showed up a little bit late, but we ended within a reasonable amount of time, or within the hour that was assigned to the event, and was able to do a Q&A, and we made it through. And it actually ended up being an hour and plus or minus 5 to 6 minute recording that I went back and looked at before I jumped on this podcast, and it didn't turn out to be so bad once you take out the absence in the beginning.
That's such a great example. Even with hiccups, you found a way to deliver value, and that's what matters. I'm sure the attendees appreciated it, and you learned something valuable for next time.
Yes, I did learn something valuable, even though I felt bad and I was very, upset when I realized my mistake. And I lost a few people, a few attendees. I'd still, I'm still trying to look at the positive. I learned a new process. I learned how to make it through, even though it did not go right. And even though it didn't go right, the end result still turned out okay. The attendees that were there, they asked relevant and important questions that I got to help them with, and I answered. The content I delivered, I was commented on. I was commented on the content, and they were very appreciative. And I answered questions that some of them had that they just hadn't really asked their routine or their usual healthcare provider.
That's a huge win, Keisha. It's not about perfection, it's about showing up, adapting, and still making an impact. I'm sure your listeners can relate to that feeling. Whether it's wellness or life, it's all about continuing.
Exactly. And I do think the listeners and women over 40, we do this all the time. And we do it with health, we do it with weight loss, we get thrown off with exercise, we get thrown off in our businesses, with our relationships. And sometimes we wait until we know more, or we try to wait until we know more. We try to wait until we're ready, or we try to wait until we have confidence, or we have the perfect plan. But sometimes the perfect waiting on the perfect plan or opportunity will let years go by, and you just never really take that leap or execute that plan or take that jump. And I think that's what I learned today. um Years ago, I was that person that really just needed it all to be a straight line, but today I learned, even with a zigzag or a jagged line, I still can make it through, and I just start anyway.
That's such a powerful lesson, Keisha. Progress is often built on those imperfect actions. I'm sure listeners will be encouraged to start, even if it's a bit messy.
Yes, even if it's a bit messy. And and I take that with, a weight loss journey. I didn't do everything perfectly as well with that. I didn't know everything. I made mistakes. I had setbacks and weeks where, things just didn't go according to plan with this particular weight loss journey. But I kept going because I really needed the weight off this go around, because health situations were at stake and I had to change some things. And I had a client with the same issue, and she was afraid to start and afraid of messing up, because she felt like she needed the perfect plan and she wanted every detail figured out before she just took that first step and started with me. But what I finally got her to see, and what I realized today, just start anyway. And we finally got her to move forward with confidence. It wasn't 100% confidence, it wasn't 100% motivation. It was just a little bit of those. All you need is an ounce. And if I take it to the Bible for some of my Christians, just the faith of a mustard seed, that it's going to be okay, even if I start not perfect.
That's such an important reminder. Progress is built on imperfect action. I love how you tied that back to both your journey and your clients. We all start somewhere, and continuing is what counts.
Yes, continuing. We talked about that last episode. Continuing is what counts, because that will change everything, and it will change what happens. It will change your outcome. So I guess our lesson for today is to just do it imperfectly. Don't try to wait for the perfect. I read or I saw a slogan that said, um, imperfectly perfect. And that's what we're talking about today.
That's a great note to end on. Keisha, taking action even when it's imperfect opens the door for growth and real progress. I'm sure your listeners will feel empowered to start before they feel ready.
Yes, yes. And I say this as a great thing to remember from this episode. Progress is usually built on imperfection action. And honestly, your first attempt, which I've been reminded, is supposed to be a little messy because it's something new. It's something you haven't really been involved in or you haven't had experience with. So, that first time, you're going to have mistakes. And we, women over 40, we have to remember this. And with our health and our wellness journeys, we're traveling into something completely new, a new season. And so, are we going to get it right the first time? Probably not that first go around. You probably will lose a little weight and gain it right back. You'll probably get the blood pressure down, but you look up when the weight comes back, the blood pressure's back up again. But we just start over and keep continuing and do it on a fresh start slate, a clean slate, and just keep trying because it's something new and something we just have to make a few mistakes. It's like, when we learn, when you see that baby learning to walk, those first few falls, they eventually get it after they fallen so many times because a lot of them just really don't want to fall again. But that's what I learned or had to remember today. Even though I messed up or things were not 100%, just go ahead and get it done, and do it anyway because I had people waiting on me and I didn't want to disappoint anybody.
And I think that's what makes your journey so relatable. You show up even when it's not perfect. I'm sure your listeners will feel inspired to take those steps, even if they're a little messy at first.
Yes, yes, I hope they will. Listen to what was said and take the first steps and kind of lead. I'm trying to lead by example. And looking back now, I'm really grateful for the event and I'm glad I went ahead and did it because I could have, just given up and not attended it at all and just canceled the whole thing. But I went ahead and showed up for those who were still waiting on me. And it wasn't a perfect start, but the ending, and because it was a great ending for me, because I was told the information was very relevant, very needed, and they're coming back next month. This is something I'm trying new just to come on live and just start talking to clients or people who are interested in health and weight loss with me.
That's exciting, Keisha. You're building something valuable, and each step, messy or not, brings you closer to helping more people. I'm sure your listeners will be inspired to take their own next steps too.
So I guess we can probably end here. And if there's something that you as a listener have been putting off, whether it's your health, your wellness journey, a business idea, a dream, or simply just taking better care of yourself, the message is don't wait for perfection. Start where you are. Start imperfect, but just start and just continue after you start.
That's such a powerful note to end on. Taking that first step, no matter how imperfect, is where real progress begins. I know your listeners will appreciate the encouragement.
Yes, I hope they will. And if you're ready, as one of our listeners, if you're ready to take a small step toward your health goals, my 10-day habit stacking program is a great place to begin. But if you like a more personalized look at your nutrition and your wellness habits to keep you on track or to get you on track, the nutrition audit is also available.
And if listeners want to dive even deeper, your book, The Wait is Over, is another great resource. I'm sure they'll appreciate all those options.
Yes. thank you for reminding me to talk about my book because it is a great option for people to learn about my journey and how my framework tied in to helping me get over myself and get those 100 pounds off and away.
That's such an incredible accomplishment, and sharing your journey, warts and all, will resonate with so many. I think we wrap this beautifully, so whenever you're ready to sign off, go for it.
Well, thank you so much for spending your time with me and Jay today. If this episode spoke to you, be sure to follow the show so you don't miss what's coming next. And we need you to remember you do not need a perfect start. You just need to start. Until next time, give yourself grace, take care of your health, and keep moving forward. And thank you, Jay, for helping me once again on another episode. I'll see you next time.
You're so welcome, Keisha. It's always a pleasure being part of the conversation. I'm sure this episode will inspire many. Until next time.